So the story kicks off on the Eastern continent, where the barbarians and the Eldoran Kingdom soldiers are going absolutely nuts on each other. Heads are literally flying. The barbarians are so OP, they're just tearing through the Illodoran troops like wet paper. But Seraphina, she's the captain, and she refuses to give up on her people. She's yelling at everyone to keep fighting and carve out a path to retreat. Even as she cuts down a few barbarians herself, she can tell this is bad, like really bad. Too many of her squad are already down. Then things go from bad to oh no, a massive new monster of a dude shows up from the barbarian side. His name? Vior, giant elite barbarian. He just shreds through more soldiers and lands right in front of Seraphina, bloody blade in the air. He instantly clocks her as the captain, because of course he does, and straight up challenges her to a one-on-one. She knows nobody else stands a chance against that mountain of muscle and steel. So she accepts. Her goal? Buy time for her troops to run. She jumps high, comes crashing down on him, and he just casually blocks it, like it's nothing. Then he swings back with insane power, sending her flying across the battlefield. But she lands on her feet like a badass and jumps right back in. They start trading blows, and honestly, she's keeping up surprisingly well. But his raw strength keeps pushing her back, so she pulls out her ultimate move, magic enhancement on her sword. She pours every last drop of energy into it, screams, and clashes with Veor's final strike. Their swords meet. One blade snaps and goes spinning into the dirt. Her soldiers stare in shock. Their captain is kneeling, holding a broken sword, defeated. Seraphina accepts it. She asks him to kill her like a true warrior, but Veor refuses. Instead, he gives her this creepy grin and says he's gonna take her alive and put her body to good use. Yikes. She blacks out, wakes up in a dark prison cell, wearing some ragged cloth and heavy shackles. It takes her a second to remember everything. The defeat, the capture, his final words. And then fear hits her like a truck. What kind of torture are they planning? Will she be a slave? Will they hurt her for fun? But then the worst thought creeps in. What if he wants her? As a woman, she's still an unmarried young noble. The idea of some brutish barbarian defiling her pure body? Absolute nightmare fuel. Then it gets worse. She realizes her comrades were still surrounded when she passed out. Are they dead? Captured too? The despair just crushes her. And on top of all that, she's worried about the common people. Without the eastern lands, their crops will die. No land left to plant. Everything she fought for is falling apart. The experienced captain? Yeah, even her, breaks down in tears. But then, a voice behind her. She turns and sees Circe, a servant girl carrying water. But Seraphina notices pliers and tools on her belt. Her brain instantly jumps to torture. They're sending someone to rip information out of her. But wait, Circe doesn't say anything about torture. Instead, she drops that she's here to turn Seraphina into the perfect trophy for King Veor. Then she chains her to the wall. Seraphina braces herself for some brutal nightmare fuel. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Veor's eyes are gleaming with anticipation. He's thinking about visiting her. Back in the cell, Seraphina is now completely nude, while Circe washes her with a wet cloth. Once she's done, Seraphina asks why all this ceremony for a slave like her. Circe just says her body was filthy from battle, so she cleaned her up. Then she makes a casual comment. She's surprised this is the woman who fought her master for so long. She expected someone more muscular, not just a feminine girl. Ouch. That bruises Seraphina's ego. She thinks a knight like her has zero time to look girly or cute. Circe gets it, but then reveals that Veor actually really likes how Seraphina looks, which just confuses Seraphina even more. Circe won't explain. Instead, she quietly warns, "You're never leaving barbarian territory again." And she's holding a sharp knife. Seraphina thinks this is it. She struggles hard against her restraints, begging for a miracle. Circe moves closer with the knife and cold metal pliers. Seraphina gives up and closes her eyes. But Circe only cuts her restraints, trims her fingernails, and slips a dress onto her. Wait, what? Seraphina opens her eyes. The clothes are strangely nice, scented with perfume. She's confused. Before she can ask, a loud roar echoes from above. Circe confirms, Veor is here. The massive barbarian king lumbers into her cell. He formally introduces himself as the son of the barbarian great chief, the Olden One. Seraphina studies his huge body and golden eyes. There's no way he's human. She remembers a story her grandfather told her about an expedition against barbarians. Back then, those brutes ripped human hearts out for rituals. She thinks she's about to suffer the same fate, but she squares up anyway, tells Veor she's not afraid of anyone, dares him to do whatever he wants with her. Hearing this, Veor is genuinely confused. He has zero plans to sacrifice her. Then he finally drops the bombshell. He captured her to take her as his bride. With just those words, Seraphina's whole world flips upside down. All that anxiety in her brain rushes straight to her face in the form of a beet red blush. At first, she's too shocked to even process it, so she asks if this is a prank, but Veor explains he truly wants to marry her. and she completely loses it. She asks him why on earth he'd marry an enemy. Vior's answer? His barbarian race has no problem loving their enemies. Then he goes full fiery passion mode, talking about his ancestors' traditions. Ever since the dawn of the barbarians, their strongest kings always married a female knight to honor their love for the sword. Despite all that, Seraphina still refuses to be his wife, but the sneaky barbarian reminds her she told him to do whatever he wanted with her, so now she's trapped by her own words. Ouch. Then Vior adds that it's not just about tradition. He remembers their fight on the battlefield, how he felt the sincerity of her passion for the sword. Facing such a powerful woman, he fell in love instantly and decided he'd marry her no matter what. After hearing that honest confession, Seraphina is way too flustered to respond, so Vior turns to leave. Before he goes, he promises he won't force her. She can carefully consider her decision. Once he's gone, the shell-shocked knight wonders what's going to happen to her in this crazy dungeon. Then we get a flashback. 7 years ago, her brother Sidious told her she was named captain of an expedition to barbarian lands. Seraphina agreed and started to leave, but Sidious stopped her. He handed her an invitation to a noble banquet. She was confused. He reminded her she's still a noble lady with a reputation to uphold. Seeing his intense stare, she stood straight and accepted. Later, she dressed up in pretty clothes and arrived at Countess Ilhol's mansion for the banquet. But the other nobles? Total snakes. In hushed whispers, they made horrible remarks about her appearance, wondering if a delicate lady like her could ever lead seasoned warriors into battle. Even though they all knew how strong she really was, the nobles thought it was such a waste for a woman to be that powerful. Seraphina felt completely overwhelmed by all the negativity, so she dipped out to a balcony for some fresh air. Then a few young ladies followed her out and asked her to hang with them instead of sulking alone. As the four of them sat together, they asked Seraphina if she was scared of her dreadful job. Hearing stories of monsters and dragons, they wondered if she'd actually be okay in those dangerous situations. Seraphina smiled and said dragons were just imaginary, but the ladies reminded her she's still going to face the barbarians, and everyone knows the tales of brutal barbarians and how they treat female knights. They told her to just stay home and avoid a brutal end, but then she slammed her hands on the table to shut them all up. She confidently declared that their kingdom has been trying since day one to conquer the eastern lands. In her mind, that's the only way to get enough resources to feed their people, so she was ready to fight the barbarians. Still, the young ladies reminded her that even the prestigious Princess Wisteria, her own role model, went missing after facing the barbarians. They all advised her to stay home and marry some suitable husband, but Seraphina was done with their negative attitude and bounced. Later, on her carriage ride home, she felt disgusted by those nobles dining on fancy meals while common people starved in the streets. Then on the way back, she saw a poor man getting attacked by 3 guys. The boys themselves were starving peasants, forced to rob people just to survive. Still, Seraphina jumped in to protect the poor man and warned the robbers to back off. With no other option, the boys tried attacking her with farming tools, but she easily wiped the floor with them. The boys thought they were done for, but suddenly, Seraphina took pity on them and gave them her precious necklace. Shocked, the boys thanked her and promised never to hurt anyone again. After they left, Seraphina's heart clenched from the pain of seeing her people like this. Internally, she made a promise. She would return victorious from the east and bring peace to her kingdom. A few days later, before leaving for the expedition, she paid respects to the missing princess, Wisteria. Suddenly, her brother Sidious popped up from behind, furious that she couldn't find a husband at the banquet. Seraphina reminded him she was about to fight for their kingdom, but the proud prince firmly told her that women could never fight on the front lines as he angrily shouted her name. Then his voice shifted into Vior's. Vior advanced toward her and stretched out a hand, dead set on making her his wife no matter what. As the barbarian grabbed her, Seraphina's nightmare finally ended. She woke up in a cold sweat. Then she heard a powerful snore nearby. Vior was sleeping right next to her. In an instant, the sight of his powerful body brought her to her senses. She drew a cold breath, terrified at the thought of handling him as his wife. Holy mother of Schlong, that man meat is massive. She stares at the massive man meat and wonders, is she expected to attend to that, scared it would break her? After a moment, she recollected her scattered thoughts and screamed at him for being there. He calmly explained that they were in his bedroom. Hearing that, she got even more outraged and asked why he was naked with her. He ignored the question and acted relieved that she was feeling fine after last night. The image in her mind kept getting worse. She thought this brutish barbarian had forced himself on her. Unable to bear the hit to her dignity, she told Vior to just put her out of her misery. He stopped her, wondering why she wanted to die instead of killing him. She shot back that a barbarian has no clue what a woman's honor means in her kingdom, so he had no right to judge her feelings. She also reminded him she just lost a battle, so her honor as a knight took a huge blow too. Vior gets where she's coming from, but he still doesn't think it's worth ending her life over. Instead, he tells her to move on and appreciate the blessing of being alive. As they keep arguing, Cersei walks in with clothes for Vior. She realizes Seraphina's got the wrong idea and explains she was given a sleeping drug and she kinda overdosed. Vior didn't expect it to hit that hard, so he got worried and took her to his own bedroom to watch over her while she rested. Finally, Seraphina realizes he just took care of her, not messed with her chastity while she was unconscious. Still, she's furious at him for creating such a huge misunderstanding. Vior again brushes off her anger like it's nothing and focuses on breakfast instead. Once he's changed, he leaves to eat and tells her to come out whenever she's ready. After he's gone, Seraphina collapses to the floor, completely overwhelmed by everything she just went through. She feels ashamed, a proud knight relying on her worst enemies for food and shelter. She remembers her grandfather's teachings. Even though he trained her, he still felt bad she was born a woman. He told her to just marry a husband and find happiness, just like her brother Sidious. After hearing so many demoralizing words, she realizes Vior is the only person who actually appreciated her knighthood and found it attractive. But her ego refuses to accept his love, so she focuses on breakfast instead. Being a prisoner of war, she thinks Vior will give her something awful to humiliate her. But when she actually goes out, her jaw hits the floor. In front of her is a giant slab of roasted fatty meat. She starts literally foaming at the mouth because her impoverished nation could never afford this much meat. Vior thinks she must be hungry, so he gives her 10 pounds of meat, thinking it's a normal size for human knights. But in reality, that chunk is bigger than her entire torso. That's more meat than she eats in a whole year. Seraphina thinks he's trying to bribe her into accepting him with this delicious feast. She swears she'd rather die than accept it. Unfortunately, her stomach roars in protest, so now she's embarrassed enough to ask for death again. Vior is honestly confused why she keeps wanting to die over every little inconvenience. He reminds her, if her stomach is growling for food, that means her body wants to live. Finally, he tells her to stop overthinking and just accept the meal. Meanwhile, Cersei goes up to Seraphina and explains that even though Vior is acting all cool and casual, he actually went out to hunt this meat specifically for her. She reminds Seraphina that Vior is a noble among barbarians too, so refusing his kind gift would be straight up bad etiquette. Seraphina takes that excuse to accept the gift, and when she finally takes a bite, the juicy meat instantly captures her heart. She literally starts crying. She's never eaten such tender meat before. Vior notices how much she's enjoying it. The second she realizes he's watching, she perks up and acts like the food is just okay. Then she reluctantly forgives him for causing that misunderstanding in the morning. After that, she gets curious about what creature the meat came from. Vior explains it's already been butchered, and his men are cleaning up the rest of its hide outside. Seraphina peers out the window, thinking it'll be some juicy cattle. Nope. She's greeted by the sight of a vicious dragon corpse. She wonders if this is one of those legendary fire-breathing dragons. Vior chuckles and explains that while fire-breathing dragons do exist, this one's just a herbivore. Then he notices Seraphina is still polishing off all the meat, even after being shocked about where it came from. Once she finishes eating, Vior asks her to go outside with him. She still doesn't trust him, so she hesitates. Vior wonders if she's just scared of the beasts she'll see in this foreign land. That gets her angry, and she accepts his challenge. As she gets ready to go out, she warns Vior that she doesn't trust him. He accepts the warning, but still thinks she'll love the scenery outside. The moment Seraphina steps out of the house, she's stunned. A peaceful meadow, thriving with wildlife, spreads out in front of her. Vior notices her surprise, so he explains that while the battlefield was a total wasteland, the rest of barbarian lands are actually full of life. Then he starts walking to show her another sight. Seraphina mentally prepares herself for whatever's ahead. As they walk through the forest, she curiously looks around at all the wildlife. Up above, she spots a dragon flying in the sky. Vior casually explains that it's just a normal animal around here. Sure, hunting dragons is tough, but they usually don't mess with barbarians as long as you don't wander into their lairs. Seraphina is annoyed that he's treating these terrifying beasts so casually, but he reminds her she literally ate one for breakfast. Embarrassed, she goes silent and keeps walking. Soon, she hears a soft humming sound in the distance. As she gets closer, she's shocked to see a pristine, clear waterfall. She blurts out that she's never seen anything like it. Vior asks if her kingdom doesn't have waterfalls. She gets defensive and tries to deny it, but then remembers the Eldoran kingdom really doesn't have natural sights like this. Veor feels bad and reassures her he just wanted to show her the beautiful waterfall, not brag about his land's resources. Then he suddenly takes off his shirt and tells her to do the same. Shocked, she asks why. Veor says they have to get into the water together. Her perverted mind immediately jumps to some illegal activities, but he explains he just wants her to take a bath. Still, she reminds him that a man and a woman bathing together is completely unacceptable. Veor tells her barbarians don't share her culture, so he doesn't care. Then Cersei steps in and reminds Seraphina that she hasn't bathed since that bloody battlefield fight. She points out that if she doesn't wash up soon, her grimy body will stink up the whole place. Finally, Seraphina agrees to take a bath, but she sends Veor somewhere else so he can't see her. Cersei comes with her, and Seraphina thinks she's just keeping an eye on her. But Cersei says she's actually watching to ensure her safety. Seraphina is confused. Then suddenly, a massive snapping turtle pops out of nowhere. Terrified, she clings to a rock. Cersei tells her there are plenty more weird creatures here that will scare her. Still, Cersei wonders why Seraphina is so scared since these creatures are actually peaceful. Suddenly, Seraphina notices a bunch of eldritch monstrosities that look more like horror story rejects than actual animals. Yeah, she runs away from the terrifying waterfall. Cersei feels worried, but doesn't chase her once she realizes where Seraphina is headed. After Seraphina stops panicking, she realizes she left her clothes back at the waterfall. Then a bird cries out loudly, breaking her train of thought. She gets ready to head back, but then a strange man calls out to her. She immediately thinks, "This is it. Time to lose my innocence to some weird barbarian." As the man approaches, she backs off and tells him to stay away. He doesn't listen and gets closer. She finally catches a glimpse of his handsome face. She starts comparing him to the men back in her kingdom, but then remembers she's still naked in just a towel. She tells him to back off again, but he stays put. Instead, he notices how pathetic she looks and figures out she must have run from her bath after getting scared. Thankfully, he doesn't mock her. He reveals his mother was also a woman from the West. She used to get scared in the bath too. His mother told him stories about her kingdom, which lacked wildlife and nature, just like Seraphina's homeland. Surprised, Seraphina wonders if this barbarian's mother was a missing female knight captured during her grandfather's expedition. While she's lost in thought, the young man puts his own clothes around her. Then he tells her to come back with him to find her clothes. Seraphina is shocked. A barbarian being such a gentleman? Maybe Veor is just a special deranged case. The man notices her face is red and gets close to check if she has a fever. Being a noble maiden, she's completely flustered by his touch. He thinks her fever is too intense for her to hike down the mountain, so he scoops her into his arms to carry her. Soon, Cersei finds them together and wonders how her master Veor managed to tame Seraphina so easily. Hearing his name, Seraphina finally realizes the young man holding her is none other than Veor with a shaved beard. He grins, loving how shocked she is. Enraged by his deception, she slaps him. Veor happily praises her for producing such strong emotions. As they walk back home, Cersei wonders if Veor will be okay. Seraphina warns him she would have challenged him to a duel if she had her sword. Then she blames him for her panic since he brought her to such a dangerous area. But Cersei explains that the wildlife around them is all peaceful. Veor personally patrols the area to make sure no dangerous beasts are around. Veor adds that he bathed alone since she wanted privacy. Otherwise, he would have protected her. Seraphina wonders if creatures like dragons are dangerous enough to guard against. Veor explains that although dragons are strong, they're usually cowards. They don't provoke people on their own. However, Cersei points out that only Veor is strong enough to call dragons cowards. He then turns to Seraphina, clearly pleased that he got to see a new side of her. Embarrassed by all the attention, she forgives him, as thanks for the beautiful scenery, then storms off in a rage. On the way back home, she thinks to herself, maybe being Veor's wife won't be so bad. I mean, he's actually really handsome without that beard. Unfortunately, just a few days later, she finds him back with a full beard, putting his looks right back to square one. And that was the second episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and click the video on screen to keep watching.